All right, let's go ahead and continue on Algebra 1. Lesson 94, we're solving multi-step absolute value equations. Again, this goes back to what we learned in the beginning of the school year with multi-step equations in general. And it's the same thing, just try to get the x by itself. Here, we have the absolute value of x is equal to a. So again, we're not dealing with inequalities, meaning the less than or greater than symbol. It's just equal sign. It's easier with just the equal sign. You solve them the same exact way though, but you just have the equal sign in this case. But whenever you have absolute value, you have two answers. So the absolute value of -7, that it's always a positive answer, so it's 7, and it's also -7, and you'll always get two answers for this. So I have here absolute value of x is equal to a, so that means you set it equal to the positive solution, your regular solution, and you set it equal to the negative solution. But keep in mind here, it's always going to be a positive in the beginning here, it's never going to be a negative. Here, example 1, we have the absolute value of x over 5 plus 3 is equal to 18. Just like before, we always get the x by itself. Here, before we do anything, we want to get rid of the 3 here. We subtract both sides by 3. So now we have the absolute value of 5, or x over 5 is equal to 15. Always make sure you multiply or divide near the end. In this case here, to get the absolute value symbol by itself, or the bracket, you multiply both sides by 5. Reason is, the absolute value of x is dividing into 5. Opposite operation is multiplying. This cancels out. Now you have the absolute value of 5 is equal to 15 times 5 is 75. So now you have the absolute value of x is equal to 75, but that's not your complete answer. Remember, after you have the x by itself, the brackets by itself, then you set it equal to the positive solution and you set it equal to the negative solution. There's two answers. Your two answers, it's 75 and -75. You don't have to put the brackets, 75 comma -75, it's fine. And there's two answers, those are your two answers, but you can't do this until the bracket is by itself on one side, and that's why we had to do all this work here. B, we have to get the absolute value bracket by itself. So the first thing we do, we always try to add or subtract first. So add 9 to both sides. This cancels out. Now I have 4 times the absolute value of x is equal to 24. Now, to get it by itself, I divide both sides by 4. Remember, you multiply or divide in the end, or near the end. So now I have the absolute value of x is equal to 6. That's not your answer. You set it equal to your answer and set it equal to the negative answer. So your answers will be 6 and -6. Example 2. So here, again, it's very similar. We just work our way, try to get the bracket by itself. First thing we do, we try to add or subtract first. I'm going to subtract both sides and add opposite signs. So I'm subtracting both sides by 4. So now I have 5 times x over 2. And this is equal to 0. So 4 minus 4 is 0. Now we have to get rid of the fraction before we multiply. So to do that, we have to multiply both sides. So here you have a fraction and you have multiplication going on. Try to get rid of what's separating the two, which is the fraction bar. So multiply both sides by 2. And then I have 5, the absolute value of x times 5. 0 times 2, again 0, it's not 2. Now you go ahead and divide both sides by 5, and now the bracket's officially by itself. 0 divided by 5, 0. So your answer in this case, just 0. You don't have a 0 and -0. In this case, there's one answer. Let's keep on going here. We need to get the x by itself. You subtract both sides by 3. Now you have 2 times the absolute value of x divided by 6 is equal to -2. Divide both sides by 6. You want to get rid of the fraction. And when you do that, you have 2 times the absolute value of x is equal to -12. Get the bracket by itself. Divide both sides by 2. Now you have the absolute value of x is equal to -6. So since this is a negative number, there is no solution. When you're finding absolute value, it's talking about direction. Direction is always positive. It's never negative. You can't go on from saying, okay, we're going to set it equal to the positive and negative solution. It has to be positive before you go on to that last step. In this case, it's negative. There's no answer in the world that will give you a -6 for absolute value because the answer is always positive for your absolute value. But x could be a negative or positive. But in this case, no, it's negative here. There's no solution. Example 3. We have the absolute value of 2x plus 9 is equal to 15. You have to get the bracket by itself, so you're going to subtract both sides by 9. If it helps you, you can do the lines there. I'm not doing it because we should know how to do it by now. So this cancels out. I have the absolute value of 2x is equal to, I think it's 8, 6. And now from this point, there's no numbers on the outside of the absolute value bracket, meaning there's nothing multiplying, dividing, or adding, or subtracting. It's between, the number 2 is between the two brackets. From this step, you go ahead and set it equal to the solution, 2x equals 6, and you set it equal to the negative solution. You have to make sure that bracket is by itself before you go on to that last step from over here. It's between the brackets, so you have to follow this here. Now, we go ahead and solve for it here. So we divide both sides by 2. We have x is equal to 3. That's one answer. Here, we divide both sides by 2, and we have another answer. X is equal to negative 3. So your answer is 3 and negative 3. Go on to. All right, we're going to go ahead and continue. So here we're going to get the bracket by itself. First thing we do, we try to remove anything that's adding or subtracting into the bracket. So now you have 6 times the absolute value of x plus 3 is equal to 18. Then you divide. When you divide both sides, you get absolute value of x plus 3 is equal to 3. Since the solution is positive, you set it equal, you set whatever's between the brackets equal to the solution, and set it equal to the negative solution. Subtract 3 to both sides. Here you have 0. 3 minus 3 is 0. Here you're trying to get the x by itself. You subtract 3 to both sides. You have x is equal to negative 6, and that's your answer. And then the last one, C, I accidentally erased it. We have 5 times x minus 3 over 2 is equal to 15. So 5 times the absolute value bracket here is equal to 15. You have to make sure to get the absolute value bracket by itself. Divide both sides by 5. Now you have the absolute value of x divided by 3 minus 2 is equal to 3. There's nothing multiplying on the outside, nothing dividing on the outside. It's between the brackets, so that means you don't do anything just yet. The solution is positive, so therefore you set it equal, you set whatever is between the bracket equal to the positive solution, or the regular solution, which is equal to 3. And then you set it equal to the negative solution, negative 3. And then you solve. Here, we need to get the x by itself. You're going to add 2 to both sides. You're going to have x over 3 is equal to 5. Multiply 3 to both sides, and you get x is equal to 15. That's one answer. Next one. Here, we have to solve for both of them. We add 2 to both sides, x over 3. We have negative 3 plus 2 is negative 1. We have to multiply 3 to get the x by itself. Then you have x is equal to negative 3. So those are your two answers, negative 3 and 15. Last one here, we're going to go ahead and do the word problem. They give you a couple circles. They tell you that p is equal to the number of points. And in this case, they want you to solve. They want to see what the inner circle measurement and the outer circle measurement is. And you have p being 8, and they use this equation to figure it out. First thing you do, here we have what the number of points is. That is 8. So we go ahead and we plug in what we know. 6 times p, or 6 times 8 minus 63, is equal to 3. So we use the absolute value. Now we go ahead and simplify. So d plus 6 times 8 is 48, minus 63 is equal to 3. This is sideways, sorry about that. Now you go ahead and simplify, meaning you can combine those two. You have d minus 15 is equal to 3. And now you have the bracket by itself. The answer is positive. You set it equal to, you set whatever's between the bracket equal to the regular solution, and you set it equal to the negative solution. So 3 and negative 3. Solve for d. Add 15 to both sides. You have here the outer circle could be a measurement of 18. The inner circle could be a measurement of 12. So your answer is 18 and 12. Let me know if you need anything. My email is down there. I'll try to reach to you as soon as I can. Have a good day.